Anyone could be in any situation at any moment of our lives. Fun fact, did you know that I wasn't even on the minds of Spotify to present this podcast? Never give up, because it's useless to have a pessimistic vision. Being patient, consistent, and with a lot of hard work, you can be part of the nation. The question is, are you ready to be part of it? This is the Be Nation podcast, and this is Season 7, where anyone can be.
The Be Nation podcast. The Be Nation podcast, Miguel Tello.
And still feels like the very first day that we came to bring you the best new music from around the world. It sounds crazy to give you a warm welcome to our season number 7, where we are also celebrating our episode 100, and that's all because of you. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. What an amazing new intro song that we have, and I just want to give a huge thank you to Electric Valentine for allowing us to use their art during this season, and to our friend Josh Boger for the incredible help. This is the Be Nation podcast. I am Miguel Tello, and this is the first premiere of Season 7. This one is called Anyone Can Be, and she is with us for another season. She is Laura, and now she's introducing a summary.
This is the Be Nation podcast. Welcome to Season 7, where anyone can be. We are celebrating our episode 100 with a split premiere, and right now we are presenting you the first one. Discover the 7 brand new features that we are bringing on this magical season. On this episode, we have on the spotlight 2 fantastic guests. William DERELLA and GIGI GROMBACHER are back. We have a chat about industry topics that matter to those who wants to be part of the nation. Season 7 will continue to bring you the best new music from around the world. Welcome to the Be Nation podcast.
How are you guys? How are you doing? Welcome to another episode of the Be Nation podcast, where we are bringing you the best new music from around the world. And if you think you have it, please send us an email to podcast@thebenation.com, podcast@thebenation.com. Or you can check our website www.thebenation.com, or also our socials on Instagram under the username TheBeNation and TikTok under the username TheBeNation. Season 7 of the Be Nation podcast includes 17 brand new episodes and one spectacular season finale scheduled for June 7. Let's start this magical season revealing details of the second premiere for Season 7 that we have this upcoming Friday on the Be Nation podcast. We're gonna have a stunning guest, as for example, someone who is back on the show. He's going to compete this year on Eurovision Australia besides 2022 with his new single Electrify. Yes, Andrew Lambro is back with his brand new song, and he's on the show this Friday, but for now, let's listen to the brand new single that is called Electrify.
No one knows this feeling inside. Ain't no word that I can say. Yeah, you know that I waited all this time. My unexpected surprise. This feeling shouldn't hide. You need to know. Oh, oh, I see it in your eyes. Yeah, like I said, it's time to let you know. I feel you running through my veins without control. I feel you running through me, we can take control. us. Yeah, like I said, it's time to let you know.
With his brand new single Electrify, and remember that he's going to be a guest this Friday on the B Nation podcast, and we can wait for that. Coming up on the B Nation podcast, GIGI, GROMBACHER and William DERELLA are in the spotlight, being the main guests of this episode. Now it's time to reveal, guys, that we are already working in our second birthday video episode. It seems like yesterday when we did the first one, and I am super happy to announce that episode 7 of season 7 will bring you the second birthday video episode. And this year will be bigger than ever, that's for sure. Now it's time to play one of our favorite tracks here on the B Nation podcast. The track is called Lose My Number, and they are Nightly, which is my pleasure to announce that they are going to be also this Friday on the B Nation podcast, and we can wait to speak to Johnny about their incredible music. But now, there we go.
You only ever call me when you're drunk. You only want me when I've had enough. You're only really good at faking love. You say one thing and you take it back. Your words hold weight like a paper bag, and I feel sick from your whiplash. So test your luck with someone else, see if they can handle you, and all the hell you put me through. I'm done with you, done with you. La 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 la, lose my number. I don't wanna hear from you one more time. I'm so done with your pretty white lies. Yeah, yeah. La 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 la, lose my number. You just wanna rip my heart in two. I don't wanna let you, I just wanna let you go it through. Too fast, wish I could've seen it coming. Left me in a mess, just like that. We were everything to nothing. Test your luck with someone else, see if they can handle you, and all the hell you put me through. I'm done with you, done with you. La 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 la, lose my number. I don't wanna hear from you one more time. I'm so done with your pretty white lies. Yeah, yeah. La 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 la, lose my number. You just wanna rip my heart in two. I don't wanna let you, I just wanna let you go it through. La 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 la, lose my number. I don't wanna hear from you one more time. I'm so done with your pretty white lies. Yeah, yeah. La 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 la, lose my number. You just wanna rip my heart in two. I don't wanna let you, I just wanna let you.
This is season 7 of the B Nation podcast, and today we are celebrating our episode 100. We have two special guests and friends of the show, GIGI, GROMBACHER, which is an artist and songwriter, and that you recently hear on the B Nation podcast because she released her EP, Virgin Tears, and she's with us. GIGI, how are you?
Hi, Miguel. I'm doing good. I'm really happy to be here.
And we also have as well to the one and only William DERELLA, which is a music manager for top global artists. William, how are you?
I'm well. The world is still a wreck since we last spoke, but I'm excited to be on your 100th episode?
100th episode, yes. Can you believe it?
Incredible. Congratulations. I'm still proud of everything you're doing, and I'm really excited today to be on with you, Miguel, and of course, the amazing, talented, just incredible human being, GIGI GROMBACHER.
Oh my gosh.
One of my favorite
Indeed.
artists.
I'm gonna cry.
Indeed. Let me tell you something about her. And this is something that I told you privately, William, but I'm gonna tell you to you as well, GIGI. Mm-hmm. Every time that I'm interviewing you, I'm finishing the interview learning something new, which is at the end of the day something productive. And this is what I like about you.
That is so sweet.
Guys, we're gonna speak today about topics that matters to people, especially artists that they normally listen to the show. I want to start by asking you, to both of you, you can reply, any of you, about how the music industry changed in the last 20 years, let's say like that, because obviously it's keep constantly changing, evolving, But for me, for example, that I'm a guy that I managed to live the early 2000s, sometimes I feel like I am missing things that they are nostalgic, let's say like that, on the way that, for example, artists they used to promote their records. Obviously, as well, I totally believe that now in 2022, we did a lot of progress in terms of the possibilities out there. But my question to both of you is, what is exactly that thing, that value aspect of the music industry that you miss, that it was done, I don't know, let's say before the streaming era, if you want to call it like that now you believe that it should still always be there?
Well, since you said 20 years, I mean, I might have a little more insight on
20 years is a lot of years.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in this industry for 35 years, so that's a long time. So I've seen a lot of changes, obviously, formats from, vinyl to cassette to 8-track to CD to basically, on demand, instant listen. So I think one of the big things that I sort of miss from the past that I think is missing currently is what I would call foreplay, right? I think we all understand what foreplay is. And it's sexual tense, and that's kind of teasing, preparing, warming, and having a lot of time before your record comes out. So typically, we would have a very long setup before an album would come out. Today, it's kind of like people want it now. They want it yesterday. If they hear it's coming out, they don't want to wait 3 weeks, 6 weeks, or 2 months. They want it immediately. And, I think that hinders a little bit of creativity from the marketing folks. And of course, you can do things, you can tease things in a TikTok, with original audio, for example. You can do teasers to your video and your song and sort of on social media. But a real wind-up, the kind that you used to see from major labels primarily, but independents as well, you just don't really see today. And I think that's because, the listening audience doesn't have the patience. There's too much music. There's too many distractions, whether that be gaming, politics, news, streaming TV series and films on the Netflixes and Primes and Hulus of the world. And so we're kind of lacking that. So I feel like, that's something missing, but it's also the way things have changed. So, you can't really do it the old way. That's kind of my take. That's my big take on one of the changes.
I just think something that I miss, at least, is the audience has a very different relationship with the artist, I think, nowadays. Before you would go out, buy an album, if it's on vinyl, you put it down, you start playing it, you listen from top to bottom all the way through. And that's just such a special experience, I think. And, you really come to love the whole artist if you end up liking the music. And now it's like, I don't know, I could hear one song on TikTok or something like that. And I hear the song all day and it's stuck in my head, but I actually have no idea who the artist even is. And I don't even go look, or I don't listen to the song on Spotify. And even if maybe I do love that one and I love that, I like this artist for this one song, I don't feel like there's a little bit of a disconnect between liking an artist as a whole and just liking maybe one song that they did.
Because what?
Like, it's so fast paced, like you were saying. It's like,
Yeah.
I want to hear as much as I can, all like the most sticky stuff. And, you know, I'm going to listen to this girl for that. And then all of a sudden there's a new guy and he just put out this song and it's amazing. And now there's another kid and then there's another girl. It's just always, there's such an influx of music. And I think that's great. But it's also a little bit of a shame, at least from like an artist standpoint. Like, I would love to have a very close relationship with my audience and for them to really know me as a person and as a writer, a singer, you know, get the whole picture.
Yeah, which is why we need podcasts, Miguel. We need all kinds of other outlets to help artists connect with fans and sort of talk a bit more about who they really are. Because I always say, like, you can have 100,000 followers, 1 million followers, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, whatever. But that doesn't mean they're fans. That means they follow you. If somebody likes your whatever, your TikTok or your social media post, it doesn't mean that they're a fan yet or they want to buy a t-shirt or a concert ticket or anything else. So you have to do a lot more work today to really get out there. And there's just so many outlets, you know, for new experiences in music and gaming and all these different things that it's very hard to sort of stick with one thing. What, 60,000 songs a day get posted on Spotify?
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's every day. That's 500,000 a week. That's 20 plus million a year. New songs.
Yeah.
And 50 or 60% of the songs that are being streamed are catalog songs. Look, I'm old. I listen to music from the 70s. That's my sweet spot. That's kind of where I was, my growing up, where music really stuck to me. And for some reason, I'm always like time capsule when I go to Spotify, right? You know, because it's like the fabric of the music of my life. And it's hard. I have to really take time. Like if I'm working out, for example, I'll listen to New Music Friday. I'll skip quite a bit, but I will try to get down with what's new. I usually will find 1 or 2 songs that I like, which is pretty good out of 100 or whatever it is. Yeah. But I also will go to the hits channel to see like what's sticking, what's sticky, what's happening. And it's interesting. I mean, songs do stick around for a lot longer now in that lane. And that is because of algorithms. The AI has changed a lot. We think it's like, we got to do all these things. GIGI got to put out a new TikTok. You need to remix your song. You got to put out a second video. You got to put a live version of it. Oh, I need an acoustic version, right? Those are all good things to do, but it's really hard to find something that's going to be sort of so sticky that people are going to dive further into your repertoire.
One of the things that I wanted to discuss, William mentioned at the beginning, is that how we live in a world that we want things like very, very, very fast. Like, for example, like if we buy an item online, we want it on the same day. Or if we ask for a cab, you know, like we want it and it takes longer than 5 minutes, we get pissed, we get frustrated, you know. Most of the people basically, they do that. And we don't realize that like the things that like they are more satisfying in life, like are the ones that like, for me, and my opinion, you know, like that the ones that the money can buy. This do that to the situation that the world that we live in at the moment, like that also as well have a lot of stress, a lot of pressure, and a lot of like lack confidence in artists, you know. Yeah. My question to you guys is that, for example, like let's say an artist that starts from the scratch, from the very, very, very beginning. I find a lot of people that they are lost and they don't know that things take time. What exactly like is the artist looking for? Is it for a label, for a manager, or for someone who actually helped them? What will be the advice? What I will probably say to anyone out there who is listening, when that it will help them to obviously when obviously they're doing this search.
I mean, I think GIGI, by the way, is a good example. I mean, you know, GIGI's Spotify started at 0.
Yeah.
There was no GIGI Grombacher Spotify, you know, now over 500,000 streams. And it's been, you know, it's taken us time. I think, you know, patience is obviously a really important thing, right? It's like people are expecting like, I'm going to do a TikTok and the thing's going to go viral and all of a sudden it's going to have millions of streams. I mean, this is extremely rare. rare. What normally happens is, you get a couple hundred streams, you get a couple thousand streams. If you get lucky, you hit 5 figures, 10,000 streams. And you just have to kind of build from there. There's no team that's going to just like save you and rescue you and give you some magical formula on how to get to that further place, whatever your dream is, 1 million streams, 10 million streams, 100 million streams. I think, though, if you are putting out music that is high quality, you'll see progress. I mean, I noticed yesterday, I think GIGI was almost at 20,000 streams a month, right? Or followers or listeners or whatever, one of those. But that was from going from 0.
Yeah.
And by the way, GIGI had another manager previously, and for whatever reason, I'm not trying to blame them, but in some of the deals that GIGI was involved with, where she wrote a song and they were like, hey, why don't you be the singer on it? Because she'd done the demo, the songwriting demo. And she said, yes, but her name didn't get on the song. She didn't get the designation in the metadata that she was a primary artist. So like those songs have over 45 million streams that she's the singer on. And I think a lot of people don't even know that. I mean, only 1 or 2 of the songs even appear on her, in her feed. Only one appears really in the feed, that's of note. And the 2 big ones don't appear on her feed. She's had to put them on playlists to say, hey, by the way, that's me. I'm the one on the Him record. I'm the one on the Young Bombs record. And they're really good songs. So, there's a lot of methods to get to, a point where you've got real followers. And obviously, if you have real followers on Spotify, your release radar, for example, will be a great tool. But here's what I've noticed. So we get frustrated. We want to see more streams for GIGI. She's doing lots of stuff. She's working hard. She's writing songs for other people. She's making TikToks and social media videos and doing kind of live things, doing all the things I mentioned earlier, remixes. But every once in a while, we'll be like, whoa, what's going on with the Marilyn, right? That was the first song she put out. It did okay, but it didn't do as well as we'd like. But it's starting to build again. And in fact, just last week, we had our highest, streaming day, just singular day, in the whole cycle of the release pattern. So all of a sudden, it's like a song that was the first of 6 that came out months and months ago is the algorithm is reacting to it because of the number of people that are saving it, and it's hitting some areas on the algorithm that allow new people to hear it. So all of a sudden, we were at like a couple hundred streams and we went to over 1,000 streams in a day. So, if you hang in there and you just kind of keep going and you're consistent, I think that's also really important. And I know that's probably something we're going to touch on later in this, but being consistent, meaning you have a pattern of releasing quality music on a regular basis. And a regular basis can be anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks. It doesn't guarantee anything, but it'll help the people that are following you and people that are discovering you, discovery being the biggest one. And that algorithm is what the Marilyn, kind of connected with, was the discovery one. But the release radar, as you're building the audiences, every time you put out a new song, they get a notification. So I think it's really important to understand what the various playlists are on Apple and Deezer and Spotify, etc., and Amazon, and what they do and how do you get to them. And a lot of times it's just a matter of time. It's a matter of how many people have saved it, as well as how many streams you have. Obviously, the bigger playlists, Pop Rising, you have to have like 150,000 a day to even hit Pop Rising. But once you do, the algorithm goes, into hyper mode, right? It's like, and steroids, the AI. And now you're hitting lots of other playlists.
Yeah, I think just kind of to jump off what you were saying, like it is about putting out quality. And for me, time has been a thing that I've grappled with a lot, and I try to stay patient. But I understand the anxiety, I guess, that comes with putting out music, and you have such a desired outcome, and you picture what you think it's going to look like, and you want to put it out right away. Especially with me, I've had some of these songs that were on Virgin Tears for 4 years, and I wanted to release them so badly, and for whatever reason, it wasn't working out. And then finally, when I got Maeve and William, my managers now, they were the ones that were actually able to even bring me to a place where I could release the stuff, you know? Before, you know, I was with managers that were more focused on my songwriting. And that was, you know, fine and great. But I wanted to be the singer as well. So when I found these two managers who understood my vision and, you know, understood that there's more to me, a lot more than just being the writer, they were like, let's go. We'll show you how to, you know, get this music actually released. And, you know, they taught me about the timing, the 4 to 6 weeks in between, and teasing the song before. So, you know, these are all tools that I learned from them. I think managers can be very, very helpful to artists. I think that, like William said, understanding your audience can also be really helpful. So once you start putting out the music, just be patient and try to understand, like, okay, who's listening to my songs? Is it teenage girls? And then if it is, like, you know, mostly, then how am I going to, you know, connect with these fans? How am I going to get them to tell their friends to listen to my music? And so on, you know? So, like with the Marilyn, it started out a little bit slower. And it's easy to get disheartened about things like that, but I try to stay positive and always remember I started from zero, you know? So it really is a big feat. I think it's easy to compare yourself as an artist a lot of times with other people's progress and where they are on their journey, but honestly, it's just a waste of time is what I'm figuring out. You know? Yeah,
but I always believe that the biggest competition is always yourself, right?
Exactly. And it should be. It shouldn't be anybody else.
And by the way, Miguel, I just want, you know, going back to an earlier thing you were asking about, which was, you know, what are the big differences between 20 years ago and now? Well, one of them is if you put out a song 20 years ago and your record label tried to go to radio, and if you didn't get on the radio or you got to number 57 and it stalled, that was it. It was over. That song, forget about it. Nobody will ever hear it again. Today, that is really different. I mean, for example, you know, any one of Gigi's songs could get a sync opportunity for a TV show, a commercial, a film, whatever. That will be a whole new campaign. It will be like starting over again. And so you have the algorithms that, you know, you start to connect with as your song slowly builds, because most songs will slowly build or not even build at all for most songs. I mean, most songs won't be heard. They'll get one stream a day. Like, you know, unless you got a big family, it's hard to be heard. But the difference is that today, like a streaming song is almost brand new when someone else discovers it, right? It actually can have, you know, multiple lives, more like a cat, you know, 9 lives.
Yeah, like the Lizzo song, Truth Hurts.
Perfect example. It was around for 2 years. So it doesn't really matter how old a song is. Even if you put it out 2 years ago, a song can catch fire at any time.
Exactly.
You know, it does need, you know, sort of, you know, a little bit of a push and it needs opportunity. Sometimes, you know, that'll fall in your lap. Sometimes you have to scrap and fight and knock on doors and kiss babies and shake hands like a politician. I mean, listen, Gigi's been in restaurants before. And you know, she talks to somebody like, what are you doing? Like, oh, I'm a singer. I was like, oh, really? Oh. And next thing you know, they're following her on Instagram. They follow her on Spotify. They downloaded some songs. And, you know, I mean, that's hand-to-hand combat.
There it is.
Hard to get to 10 million that way, but it's a way to at least start building your followers and fan base so you've got some numbers. That's what this is about, right? Foundation building. So that each time another song comes out, you hope and expect and hope, and if you're doing it right, you will make progress, right? Patience and progress go together. If you're patient, you'll progress, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
It's what I call the communist plan. You know what I mean? Like, it might take 10 years to get it off the ground, but it's worth it in the end.
Yeah.
Right? Because you'll have a loyal base. Anyway,
Gigi, I want to ask you something to Gigi before I forget it, which is linked to the what you were discussing before. I want to know, like, if there's any technique or anything that it helps you to keep that level of like patient and confident that you have during your career? Because honestly, like we can be talking about patience, but for so many people, like it's hard to have patience. Let's say like that, because it's hard just because it's part of the personality. But I want to know, like, what strength or what exactly helps you to keep focus and to keep motivating on, like, for example, like on the songs from your EP, for example.
Yeah, so obviously the patience is not something that I, got overnight. It's something that I'm still working on all the time. But I definitely try to have a positive outlook on things. I meditate, try to operate on a high frequency so that, good things will come my way. That's about, being grateful for the things that I have in my life, being grateful for the talents and the creativity that I have, for the team that I have around me, and for every single stream, every single person who's listened, because that really is something. So I think that reminding myself of all the great parts about it, and like, recently I've been performing out a little bit on stage, and when you're out there, it's like such an invigorating thing. And I think that's worth all of the stress or the disappointment that comes along with, putting yourself out on such a big platform for anybody to, pick you apart or judge. It's definitely, it's all worth it when you look at the good stuff, the good outweighs the bad.
Of course.
I thought you were going to say red wine.
And also red wine.
Red wine is always good. Yeah.
I smoke weed. That's my thing.
Yeah.
Well, that helps you to relax, right?
But yeah, it does. But I love what Gigi just said about being grateful for every stream, for every person, for every encounter. And, look, I believe in the law of attraction.
Me too.
Meaning, you will be attracted to like-minded individuals. Like, for example, I don't like assholes. I don't like bullies, right? So I don't have any friends that are assholes or bullies. Exactly. I have friends that are generous, that are kind. And, mental health in our industry, as we've talked about extensively, I think, on our last podcast, and you focused on sort of, being well, being kind, for example. It takes no skill. Right? You don't need any talent to be kind. And like, coronavirus is really contagious, right? I mean, it's like super contagious. But so is kindness. All right. It's like, it's infectious. If you, infect someone with your kindness, they'll infect another person, and it's a chain reaction. So, I'm a big believer in sort of karma and in doing the right thing. I told you I'm not religious, but I always think, what would Jesus do? Easy answer to the questions. Yeah. Like they'll clothe you, they'll bathe you, they'll take you in. You were talking about some struggles you've been through, Miguel, right? And dealing with some people that you didn't, weren't nice. They weren't kind. And so, you must have eventually found them, because we're back on the air for your, 100th episode in your 7th season. See how big notes I take? And I'm so proud of you. I just want to tell you, Miguel, that I'm proud of you. I'm proud of the strength that you show and the perseverance to continue. Like, that is a great message for all the artists that you're trying to reach with this podcast. And I know, G and I talk about this a lot, and we're kind to each other. We don't always agree. We don't always agree. There's going to be disagreements. There's going to be sometimes misunderstandings even. But, if you care, I think you always get to a wholesome place. You'll always get to the right position where the artist feels like, okay, that's good advice. Or, you know what? I realize what you're saying, but I still want to do it this way. And we're all okay. Exactly. We're not dictators. Maeve, who Gigi mentioned, is my partner with Gigi. She's incredible. She's a young manager. She loves music. She loves human beings. But, she is so kind. She's a nurturing person. She really, really cares about how people are doing, not just like on the charts, but how are they doing, personally. And I think that is a really wonderful trait. It's something that even this kid that I've been mentoring on the Grammy U program from Berkeley, Marlon, shout out to Marlon again. His mission, his vision for his management company is that, like, the mental health of his clients is the first priority. Because he believes that if the artists are mentally healthy, that the challenges that they face won't be so overwhelming. right?
Definitely.
It won't be like one bad thing happens and it's like, I want to quit. I'm going to work at Starbucks or whatever your thing might be. They hang in there. But, we're living in a streaming world that makes it very hard for artists to make money.
Exactly.
It's you're talking about, 30, 40 million streams to get $30,000, $40,000. If you control the master and pretty much are the only artist on, like, that's nuts, right?
That's nothing.
It's really not a lot of money. But I always look at sort of your music as like a business card. It's like, this is who I am, right? Here's my Spotify address. Here's my Instagram address. And then people will check you out. Like, that's kind of the way, we do it today.
Yeah,
exactly. There's no shortcuts. I can tell you that. There are no shortcuts. You got to put in the work. Yeah. You got to make quality music, and you got to find ways to reach people, and you have to be innovative.
One of the main issues that always there comes when there is like disagreements, and obviously I think a few of the things that always helps to avoid that is that what you guys were mentioning right now about being kind and about appreciate like everything that you just have, But I want to ask you, in terms of like when there is a disagreement about any decision of any upcoming project that for example, GIGI in this case have. For example, let's say that two different opinions about how one thing is supposed to be done. Like, for example, let's say the next single, let's say like that. Like GIGI has an opinion about what's the song that it could be the next track, and let's say that, for example, you William, you have another one. How, for example, I'm gonna start with GIGI. How do you handle disagreement, and how do you listen and when a situation like that is happening?
Yeah, I think at least in our case, it comes down to respect a lot. I really respect both Maeve and William and their opinions, and they respect me and mine. And I think if there's something, with William has had a lot of success in his career. He knows how to pick hits. He knows how to get things to the top. He just has seen it and he knows. So especially with this first EP, I didn't know a lot of this stuff. So I would ask William, what are your thoughts on this? How would you recommend that we go about this? How long should we wait in between? Stuff like that. And he would give me an answer, and I pretty much always agreed with it and took his advice. I think if I have a really gut instinct about something, and I, voice that to Maeve and William, they'll voice whatever they think about it. But if it's really my gut instinct, I think they'll, as long as it's not going to really ruin my life or anything, then they'll, respect that and listen to me.
Yeah, no, listen, I've also evolved, right? I've been doing this a long time. So, I've had different phases of my career, and it is different now. Again, another change is, sort of the picking of singles, right? That was always you had to lead with your best foot forward. That makes sense, right? Look, we went with Marilyn and it didn't really explode out of the gate, but right now it's the #1 streaming song of GIGI's from the EP. It already has cracked 6 figures, which is exciting. But, I'll tell you a quick story. So there was a time in 2002, I had gotten this CD, and on the song was a song called on the CD was a song called Big Girls Don't Cry. And it was a song written by Fergie and by Toby Gad. And a year later, no, less than a year later, 6 months later, I actually signed both of them, right? So now I have them, and I'm going, hey, we got this song, Big Girls Don't Cry. You should be putting this out. She's like, I'm not sure I want to put that out right now. And then she ended up getting in the Black Eyed Peas, and so Big Girls Don't Cry got put to the side. Mm-hmm. Then a couple years later, Toby Gad, who was a producer, songwriter, he wrote All of Me for John Legend. He wrote If I Were a Boy for Beyonce, and he co-wrote, Fergie, Big Girls Don't Cry. He's like, well, if Fergie's not putting that out, do you think she'd mind if we shop it anywhere? So I asked her, she's like, sure, no problem. So we shop it. We end up getting a girl on Diddy's label, Bad Boy, who was on Atlantic. She was 16, and she did a recording of it. it was not as good as Fergie's. And her album never came out, and she ended up getting dropped. Then we put it on another album. There was a girl that I was managing named Melanie Smith, and we had a joint venture with Toby over at Columbia Records. Pretty damn good. But she made an EP. She got a song on the movie Hitch, whatever, a few little things. And then the label dropped her. So her version never came out. So now Fergie has done 2 Black Eyed Peas albums. It's 5 years later. And we're making her album. It's almost finished. And I'm like, what about Big Girls Don't Cry? Like 2 other people recorded it, but their songs never came out. She's like, I don't know. You know, she'd heard a demo. We were kind of working on it on the side with the record label to try to get it to a place where she liked it. And she's like, I don't know. I just feel weird putting it out. You know, mainly because she thought it was like more of a Kelly Clarkson song. She was like, you should give it to Kelly Clarkson. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, but you wrote it. It's your true story. It was a real story that she went through a bad breakup, and that song came out of it. I think they wrote the song in 20 minutes, and they were crying in the studio. And honestly, the vocals on her demo were the same vocals we ended up using. Yep. This is what happened. She said, I told her, look, we were at the end. We had like 2 days before we had to deliver the album. And I said, if you don't put this on your album, you're going to lose $1 million. And she's like, what? I'm like, you wrote half the song. So you have half the publishing. I believe with the setup that we've had, you've sold 20 million albums with the Black Eyed Peas. Your album's going to sell a few million albums. And if you don't put it on, you're just giving that publishing money to somebody else. So after a little bit of crying, she said, you know what? Okay, but here's what I want you to do. I want you to go back to the label and tell them to get rid of all that stuff, because they had put percussion on and drums and strings and all these things. The song started with a rhythm right away, not just the acoustic guitar. And so I said, okay, let me do that. If I get that done, can we put it on? She said, yes. So I called the president of the record label. It was a guy named Ron Thayer, who was also a producer, you know, a well-known producer. He'd done Vanessa Carlton and had a number 1 song with her, and Lisa Loeb, but he's done a bunch of stuff. Anyway, Ron and I didn't agree on this. You know, I called him, I said, I got good news. Fergie wants to put the song on the album. The bad news is she wants you to get rid of all that extra stuff you added. And you know what he said to me? But you know what it's going to sound like? It's going to sound like fucking shit.
Oh my God.
Right? And he practically hung up on me. He said, you know what? I'm going to make those changes, but I'm going to charge you for those changes. I was like, okay.
Are you kidding?
Wow. So charge me for the changes. Anyway, we obviously ended up getting, you know, the song back to sort of the demo vibe. will.i.am ended up producing it because Toby had produced those other 2 records, and he wasn't allowed to contractually to be the producer on it. But Will did a great job on the record. And then a year later, right, obviously the song came out and went straight to #1 in I don't know how many hundreds of countries, but everywhere in the world. Plus it was in all kinds of advertising campaigns. She had a giant video from Anthony Mandler, and she goes on stage at the ASCAP Awards where her and Toby are winning Song of the Year for Big Girls Don't Cry.
Wow.
And she tells the story that my manager wanted me to put this on the record, and I didn't really want to do it, and none of you probably know this story, but in the end, you know, he said, if I didn't do it, I'd lose $1 million, and everybody laughed. And then she deadpanned and said, but he was wrong. I would have lost $5 million.
Oh my God.
And then there was like, and you know, I was in the front row beaming, right? I mean, it's just like an incredible story.
No, it is.
And so sometimes, you know, you do disagree over songs, and sometimes managers really do kind of have. It was very different from the what she'd done with the Peas and what even she'd done on the Duchess, right? It was, you know,
completely.
London Bridge, Fergalicious, Glamorous, and then this kind of acoustic pop song. But that song, and I always want to add this one last part to understand, like, and for GIGI too, even like about, you know, how do people find out who you are? So like at that time, it was very strategic. The singles, the first one was London Bridge, right? That was like, that felt like the perfect segue from My Humps and Don't Funk With My Heart and those kind of Black Eyed Peas songs. And she performed it at Black Eyed Peas shows. She got one song solo, and that was what she did, London Bridge. Yeah. Then the next song was what I called the brand song. And not everybody was on board, but that was Fergalicious, right? It was actually, it became a term. It became a line of shoes. It became a wine in her winery, her most successful one, in fact, right? And then, so from there, right, so now we established the brand. Now comes Glamorous, because she's had 2 #1 songs all around the world. She's also a Black Eyed Peas, sold 20 million albums. And Glamorous comes out, and she's in private jets and wearing fur coats, and, Ludacris is in the song, and it's just, it's like amazing. Now we need to tell people who the real Fergie is, right? Like the down-to-earth woman who grew up in Hacienda Heights. And so we did a video for Big Girls Don't Cry, and we shot it at a little house, and small little house in the valley, right off the 405. And it was a real down-to-earth kind of organic film for the video itself. And I think it really drew people in to like her vulnerability, who she was as a woman, because she showed vulnerability, but it also showed, that she was powerful and able to overcome that. After the 4th single, it was like, okay, now we have kind of everything. They've gotten all sides of her. They've seen the dancing, the rapping, the funny lyrics, the cool outfits, the great body, right? And then you get the like down-to-earth, crying, sad, vulnerable, yet powerful woman. And that progress, that arc, is something to look at. Like, you can always look at the sequencing and the release of singles as like kind of like a movie. So maybe your first one's like the trailer. The second one's like the opening scene. The third one is when you're starting to get into what's the story about. By the 4th one, it's like, oh, I'm starting to understand the story. And at least by the 5th or 6th, you hope to have given people, I think, a really well-rounded picture of who you are as an artist through your music. So that's an example of, you using Fergie for, but, I think it applies. It can apply now. If, you can use that strategy. There's no right way. There's no, I'm not saying the way I did it was absolutely perfect. In that instance, in the Fergie one, like, I think all the culmination of all the artists I work with and all the records I've been through, that one just played out exactly how you visioned it. But it's not always like that. Sometimes you'll skip a song or you'll miss a song,
But you know what, William? Let me tell you something. The story is amazing. And for that reason, Fergie is who is now these days. So you know what I mean? So at the end of the day, what it matters is the result. There is a reason why Fergie is Fergie. And that is because obviously all the hard work that the GIGI was describing right now. Well, Gigi's just on her way. We got together a little bit later in Gigi's career.
Oh, really?
If not the same age.
Okay,
yeah, wow. She'd been around, she'd been around. She was, child actor in Wild Orchid, and then, sort of in limbo until she, joined my firm and then eventually became a Black Eyed Pea and then went back to being a solo artist. But I heard the other day on Spanish TV, like an artist, it was like an early stage in their career. It wasn't like an established artist, by the way. So she was saying, I don't need a manager. The manager is me. And to be honest with you, I was thinking, that is not even true at all, in my opinion. Because at the end of the day, if you want to, if you wanted to develop yourself and obviously explore like different things from you as an artist, you need a team or you need a guidance, or maybe like I'm wrong, but like I wanna ask you guys, like, why is like, how important is the role of the manager? All right, I'll jump in for a second here. So here a couple things. Number one, can you imagine Cristiano Ronaldo? You know who he is, of course, Miguel. Imagine if he said, I don't need a coach. I'm the coach. Right? Wow. You go, what? What are you talking about? Like, you can understand it in that instance, how that would be wrong, right? Mm-hmm. I do believe that artists who really have a point of view, have a true perspective and understanding of who they are, will guide and lead in terms of their team. But you do need a team. You can't do it all. Or, as Fergie always said, you could do it all, you just can't do it at the same time. And, it does take an army. Like it takes a team of people to really have success. So I think it's a little naive for that artist to think like, they're it. Yeah. And listen, they might be very successful. There are artists who really, they don't want their managers to handle business. They don't want them involved with creative. They don't want them talking to them about what singles should be put out. That's not the way I like to work. That's not, my passion comes from the music. I love business too. I love making deals. GIGI recently signed a deal with Ultra, and we were so proud of that. And it's opening up new horizons for her now. Would that happen on your own? I suppose it could, but I think it's really good to have other people who are a part of your organization, whatever titles you want to give them. There's some people that have managers that work for them, meaning they're like paid a salary or they're in-house. I mean, Beyonce doesn't have an outside manager. She has a management company. They even represent other talent, but she doesn't have like an outside manager who has other clients. And I think that I kind of understand, especially for bigger artists, when they're like, look, I just want you to focus on this. And there are going to be many managers who would say yes. But no one wants to be told what to do. Managers don't want to be told what to do, and neither do artists, right? Mm-hmm. So it needs to be a collaboration. There has to be some cooperation, some understanding, some sort of meeting of the minds, and a clear vision that everyone is buying into. So if the artist is saying all kinds of crazy things that make no sense, that have no basis in reality, well, they do need to get checked. And I think it's kind of good to have a manager who will be honest with the artist, even if they don't agree, but to be honest and say like, look, that's not going to happen. I'm telling you, I know, right? Fact. But here's how we could get close to that, or here's another way to achieve the same thing. You have to give options to that person. But I'm a big believer in teamwork making the dream work. Like that there's no question about that. What about you, G? What are your thoughts? Like, you were without a manager for a while. How was that?
Well, yes. When I was without a manager, I was really doing mostly songwriting sessions, and I have like a list of collaborators that I had already worked with, for a few years. So I was just kind of setting that up by myself. That was way more manageable. But, having a good manager is, at least for me, very important, because I like to focus on writing my songs and singing my songs and, creative directing the shoots, all that stuff. I don't want to be stressed out about the contracts or, taking all of the, a lot of the like nitty gritty stuff. And especially, I mean, I'm lucky that I have managers that I really trust and, like we talked about earlier, who care about me and who are kind, because I think it's, it's easy to be taken advantage of as an artist, especially as a new artist. I know I've personally signed, deals that William and Maeve would not have advised me to sign prior to this. I don't really have a big background in like negotiating terms or things like that. So it's good to have an expert in a field. It's the whole team. So I can be an expert in what I'm doing. William and Maeve are experts in what they are doing. And when that comes together, then you have a really solid foundation.
Gigi, I want to ask you one question. Let's come back to the right at the beginning of your career, when you were looking for in your journey until now, like you are like with William. I want to know like exactly like how would you describe your journey until now in a search for a good manager?
So with my first management, it's something that really just kind of fell into my lap. Just as songwriting fell into my lap. I had no aspirations of being a songwriter for other artists, honestly. And when I graduated college, I had just one song that I had written. I really wasn't even writing songs until, the end of 2017. And I had just one song that I had written that was out on SoundCloud. Somebody from a publishing company found it and brought me in for a meeting, basically told me that they wanted to sign me as a songwriter. I was, just like, okay, like, sure, I guess, if that's what you think. And so that kind of just started to happen. And they really were more interested in me on the songwriting front. So the person who did find me at that company, she ended up just kind of taking over as the manager, helped me with a little bit of the artist stuff, but we never really got it off the ground because it frankly wasn't their main focus. And it really, at the time, I don't think it really was their expertise either. They were, great publishers, but they weren't willing to give all that time and energy that it takes to break, a new artist. So then I was kind of off the grid for a second when we parted ways, and I still knew that I wanted to start my artist journey and that I had been waiting for that for a long time. And I needed people who saw the value in my artistry and who wanted to put in the work and wanted to start this journey with me, because like I said, it was really starting from ground zero. So when I met Maeve and William, like I just honestly, with our first call that we had together, I could tell that these were two people who loved music and who seemed like very genuine people and that were really smart. So I was like immediately kind of like, I think these people are going to be the ones that can take it to the next level. And, you know, we definitely have, and we're just going to keep growing from here. But I have a pretty good radar for people. Like, you know, I can kind of tell if someone's, you know, pretending to be something that they're not. And I could tell that William and Maeve were very genuine.
And you know, it's interesting, Miguel. Yeah, there was a moment with us and GIGI where, you know, I'm not saying that, I won't say that you were like questioning whether you should sign with us or not, GIGI, but, you know, we were in what I call the dating phase of management. You know, it's a lot like getting married on a certain level. It's a big commitment. It's for a long period of time. You hope it's forever. You know, you sign a prenup, which is your contract. It's basically a prenup of what happens when you end, if you end. Yeah. And I remember we were kind of at this little crossroads of like, you know, how else can we prove ourselves? But you had some business issues that really needed tending. And we pointed them out to you like, look, you need to move now. Like, I mean, we could wait and keep talking for months and get to know each other and meet each other's parents and whatever, you know what I mean? And go on a few more dates. But ultimately, you need to have business taken care of right now for us to even want to be involved later. Because if you don't do it now, you're going to lose this opportunity. And so she was like, okay, let's do it. So we did sign and we did take care of that business, which allowed us to, you know, progress to where we are now. Had we waited, we might have missed the opportunity. I might not have even decided to sort of come out of semi-retirement to do it. You know, I mean, it's such a hard decision for an artist and for a manager to join forces, right? Because we're very untrustworthy as humans right now, especially. You're like, you know, who can you trust? And so instinct has to be a part of it, for sure. You have to have chemistry. But you know, I mean, as it related to GIGI and me and Maeve, you know, Maeve had less experience, but, you know, was, as GIGI pointed out, like beyond passionate about music and GIGI's music in particular. In fact, Maeve had sent me GIGI's, she's a songwriter. I was like, I don't want somebody who's just a songwriter. That's not enough for me. It just wasn't enough. And then it turned out, I only had a few songs, and then I got like a dozen songs, and I think all of them, GIGI's voice was on it. And I was like, wait, is she the singer on these things too? And Maeve was like, I'm not sure, let me find out. And I was like, whatever, text, and then 2 seconds later, yeah, it's her on the record. Holy shit, are you kidding me? We were in. I mean, once we heard that she was the one singing the songs and not just writing them, it was a wrap. We were ready to dive in instantly with her. It's just because there was such depth to the music, such emotion, and the voice was just, oh my God. I mean, and still, I mean, gee, you got a fucking amazing voice. I love that we can curse and say shit and stuff. Yeah, I know. But you know that I sometimes those words come out because I'm just excited about something, and that's how I feel about GIGI. You know, it's like we're in love. We're not falling out of love, and we're going to continue to support each other, and we're going to do whatever it takes to succeed. You know,
I was about to say that you have no idea how much I do understand you. How important is honesty, right? And obviously to tell to the artist like things that not necessarily is like what that the artist is expecting to hear back, right?
Yeah, of course. No, a lot of times they're expected to hear something totally different, or they would hear what they want to hear. And you know, look, we're like I always say, we're not magicians. You know, we're not. It's just not a magic pill that we're going to feed you that all of a sudden you're going to go from 0 to 1 million. You know, it's going to take time. It's going to take effort, and it's going to also, you know, take making sort of mistakes or things not sticking. And you know, today, you know, back again to the differences. Like it does matter what you put out, obviously, but if it's good, it can last. And it can find an audience. It's just, you know, it's just going to take a lot longer than if something is super sticky and it becomes a viral TikTok or whatever. But I'm a believer in artists and artistry, which means like the person can sing live, they can perform, they can entertain, and they have the ability to dig inside themselves and write incredible lyrics and come up with amazing melodies. And that's really where GIGI fits, in my world. It's like I'm always excited when GIGI writes a lot of new songs. Like, we're sitting on a bunch of songs that we haven't even gone over. We hadn't talked for a couple of weeks. So it's like a team meeting on your podcast. And hopefully that's helpful to your listeners, like they're like, oh shit, this is real. They actually work together. It's not hypothetical, right? It's real stories.
I was about to say, guys, that just to a little bit end up this interview, because obviously there is a lot of excitement going around for the future. And for example, we played recently here on the B Nation podcast, the latest single from GIGI. That is a beautiful song that is called Girl, and a beautiful video, by the way, GIGI as well.
Thank you.
I want to ask you, what can you tell us about that excitement? What can we expect from you, GIGI, in 2022? What are you working on at the moment?
So we're done with Virgin Tears. We're still, promoting that, and I hope, we hope to get a bunch more listeners on it. I've been playing some shows out, which is so much fun, playing the whole EP, and we have a lot of songs, like William just said. So, we're gearing up, ready to make the second EP, ready to keep moving forward. I'll still be writing songs for other artists as well, but for my stuff, we have some really cool songs that are very different, honestly, sounding from the first EP. So, you're just on the, along on the journey now. Yeah, we would not.
GIGI's at an interesting spot right now. So, when we got involved, there was already an EP deal in place with AWOL. And, that was Virgin Tears. What those songs were ended up changing when we got involved. Hopefully for the better. Some of the other songs I've listened to, none of the songs were bad. All of them were quality. We just felt like this was a good collection of songs that kind of fit together. Had a sort of vibe, like this Virgin Tears moniker as the title of the EP really is what a lot of those songs were kind of about. Love lost, heartbreak, things of that nature. GIGI has so much more material now, and because we've released the EP, we actually are free now for a new deal. So we're, right now it's like I'm doing the same thing. Like, okay, before I looked at that collection, what could be the first thing? What do we do with AWOL? What will be our foundation to build off of? And that was that collection of songs. Now we want to progress, and we have. For example, the Girl video, I think our highest video was 50,000 views before that. This one's over 200,000 now, Girl. Yeah. So Girl has got a bit of traction, and just needs to have continued opportunities. We don't know what they are yet, but we're going to try and find them and create them. But meanwhile, we're trying to set up and prepare for a new situation, a new partner, new deal, where we can do a similar thing. We're not looking to really be in anything long term. I don't think that's necessary at this point. I feel like GIGI can continue to put out singles, and there's some areas genre wise that we haven't really explored with the public. We have internally, in our little think tank for GIGI, but she's got some super sexy, hot, freaking R&B kind of records. She's got some rap stuff. She's got some kind of alt rock, indie pop, whatever you want to call it, type records. And new songs keep coming up. So it's interesting. One of the things I told GIGI when we first got together was forget about millions of fans. What we're trying to do right now is to find other industry people like me and Maeve who are obsessed with you. Right? They got right because they are what we call mavens. They have, networks of people who trust their judgment, who trust their taste. And more and more of them are coming on board right now. So we are seeing that. I even haven't told GIGI about a few of the people that I've been talking to, but every time I go to an industry person and I play some stuff, they're like, fuck, this is amazing. What the hell? This shit should be on the radio. This shit should be viral. And so that's our mission. Go ahead.
And you know what? I was about to say, sorry, just one little thing. What I like about GIGI EP is that, for me, if I had to define it in one single word, it's realness. Mm-hmm. I think it's a collection of songs that when you hear them, I totally feel feel like that the song, the words that she's singing, like they're like real, they're genuine, and I do appreciate that in an artist.
Listen, that's what artists, I think the biggest artists in the world, and the ones that I've worked with as well, they've always succeeded because of authenticity.
Yep.
I think the Black Eyed Peas, as much fun as their music, is, that there's a lot of truth in what they're saying. Listen to the lyrics to Where Is the Love?
Love, yeah.
Like, it's deep, it's heavy. It's talking about the government and the KK, like in that instance. And Fergie with Big Girls Don't Cry. That is just, it's so real. You know that happened to her. I felt that way the second I heard Girl. The second I heard it, I was like, this is the one for me. That was the really big one. But I also love the Marilyn, and I love that being our introduction, and I love that one is our number one streamer right now and still growing. So, I've talked to you about this already, Miguel. We talked about Adele, and, it's just so real. John Legend. I mean, All of Me as such a perfect song. I mean, it's a perfect song in terms of, birthdays, anniversaries, weddings, Valentine's Day, right? Anybody who's in a relationship, that song works incredible. Yep. That's a real song. He was writing about his wife, it's just, it infects you. It infects you, with its storyline. And so that I think look, people know what's fake, right? I mean, plenty of fake things are successful and have big followers. Just look at Instagram, all the things on there that people, hey, I love it too sometimes. But I really prefer organic. I prefer natural. Totally. I prefer real. Realness is like, it's not something that you can invent. It has to be genuine.
Exactly. Right, guys. So, Gigi, what can I say? Like, guys, come to London, because we are here waiting for you. Obviously, when to meet you guys, because honestly, this chat I really enjoyed. And I think it was one of the most realistic experience that I managed to have here on the podcast. So thank you so much for obviously being part of this, because honestly, it means a lot to me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes,
from the bottom of my heart. Honestly,
our pleasure. We'll see you soon. Invite us back again.
I will
Take care.
Soon, guys. I will keep in touch. Thank you for being on the B Nation podcast.
Thank you.
Bye.
I think it was magical, this incredible conversation with GIGI Grombacher and William DERELLA, but I'm super grateful because it was fantastic. Right, guys, we are almost at the end of this first premiere of Season 7 of the B Nation podcast. But before that, let me tell you that this season, we are still going to have our Record of the Week, latest music news, and the latest tunes in our new Music Friday. We are going to have relevant guests in our brand new segment called Spotlight, and every week, the title of every episode will be part of the big story, a segment with the most relevant story of the week in our industry. And this is what you can expect from us on Season 7 of the B Nation podcast. This Friday, we are celebrating our premiere number 2 of this season with incredible guests like Andrew Lambro, Niley, and the one that we are going to listen right now for the first time on the show. His name is Tak Dali, and his latest single is called Winter in LA. So there we go.
I feel inspired to cut ties with all of my friends. I'm scared of dying with a whole list of regrets. Dissatisfied with the color of the sky, it just rains all the time. Warm summer nights, neon lights, burning all my troubles away. I'll be fine in my new life. I could spend my winters in LA, where the skies are blue. I'd throw away my phone and change my name. I'd be someone new. So maybe I'll be happy when I finally get away, and by the time you find me, I'll be living better days. I could spend my winters in LA, where I heard it never rains. I'm sick and tired of making plans in my head. I'm always looking for distractions that will make me forget. I'm fucking bored with the same old grey horizons. It's just raining all the time. And warm summer nights, neon lights, burning all my troubles away. I'll be fine in my new life. answers.
Tag Daddy and his latest single, Winter in LA, that you just hear for the first time today on the B Nation podcast. That's it. That's everything from me. Thank you so much to everyone who listened to the first premiere of the B Nation podcast, and a special thank you to our guests, GIGI GROMBACHER and William DERELLA, for that incredible chat, and join us this Friday where Niley, Andrew Lambro, and Tag Daddy are our guests, and much more. Laura is in the production of the show, and my name is Miguel, and what can I say, that I'm so grateful that we can share together our season number 7. We have a new premiere for the season this Friday, but until now, stay safe and have a lovely week. Ciao!